talk about the influence others have on our feelings. Joining us now is Dr. John Kuna from Dr. John Kuna and Associates. Dr. Kuna, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So when it comes to the influence others have on feelings, there's a term for this. Can you tell us what that is and explain what it means?
The term that is used many times is locus of control. And what locus means is place or position of control. And do I really have control over my feelings? Or is there something that you do or something that other people say that's actually controlling my feelings? And it gets very confusing for people. The idea is to be able to feel comfortable in your own skin and feel that, if not most times, if not all times, you're actually in control of your own feelings.
And what are some ways that you really can take control? What are ways you can make yourself have control over how you're feeling?
Certainly taking a few deep breaths and framing things out in an assertive fashion. And assertiveness means the ability to speak your emotions and feelings in a way that you are confident is comfortable for yourself and those, and safe for those around you. If it's possible, I'd like to be able to give you a brief example.
Sure. Yeah, I think that'll help really clarify the issue.
Well, speaking of locus of control or not being taking my feelings away from me, let's talk about a person, maybe a story that's not actually a altogether story. I'm not saying it happened one day, but it has many parts together, and it's certainly a good story nonetheless. And what I'd like to talk about is this couple that's driving down the interstate, and as they're driving, they see that the exit is here, and the husband says, "Where do we get off, this exit or the next exit?" Well, back in the day, there was a thing that people drove around with called maps, and you unfold a map. So she unfolds the map, and he says, "Well, should we get off or not? You have to give me the answer." So she says, "I can't find it." He gets so upset, he takes the map and throws it out the window, and she bursts into tears. Obviously an example of where she felt her feelings were being controlled by this individual's anger. As it turns out, she comes to therapy, and we talk about it. And I said, "Well, you know, there's 10,000 other men that would have acted the same way." And she said, "I don't think you're helping me." I said, "Hold on. 10,000 is not a big number. There's 6 billion people, 7 billion now, in the world. 10,000 is not a big number." I agree with you. 10,000 is not a big number. Okay. But there's 10,000 other men. And she said, "Who are they?" I said, "Well, there are 10,000 other men who would see their wife struggling with a map, say, for example, and say, 'Here, let me pull over. Let's look at it together. You know, here, let me fold that map for you. Let me rub your wrists. Maybe you have carpal tunnel." She said, "Like that's going to happen." I said, "Hold on. There's 6, 7 billion people in the world. 10,000 men who would have done that is not a big deal." I said, "But there's 10,000 others." And she said, "Who are they?" And I said, "Well, these 10,000 others are the 10,000 men who would see their wife struggling with a map and think to themselves, I'll put on the game. By the time she's done, I could catch the score." And it wouldn't matter to them. What's the point of the whole story is that people will act differently to the same stimulus. If a person is having trouble folding a map, certainly the next person may get angry. Or they may pull the car over and try to be helpful. Or they may just ignore it and say, "I wish you luck with the map. I want to see what the score is."
Certainly an interesting story, and shows you the different ways the same situation can be handled. Doctor, our viewers who want to maybe contact you with a question, how can they do that?
Well, they can certainly call us, and I would appreciate that, 570-961-3361, or at my website, drjohngkuna.com.
Dr. John Kuna from John Kuna and Associates, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.